Hi, and thanks for joining me. We're out on Al the Spitfire Bobber today for a change, and we're heading off on a journey that'll take us down through Rhodesia. No, that's not the one in South Africa, of course. That one disappeared over 40 years ago. We're actually travelling down through Yorkshire and Nottinghamshire to Derbyshire, and we'll be passing through the village of Rhodesia. But it does have something in common with its South African namesake, as we'll see. As usual, I'll throw in a few bits and pieces you might find interesting as we go. I'm going to pick up the journey at Bawtry. We've been through here a few times on these videos, but it's a nice place to start at. We're passing straight through and heading south on the A638 that goes down to Retford. It's a glorious day, the sun's out, it's quite warm. It's just a lovely riding day. What's not to like? Now the eagle-eyed amongst you might have noticed that little disc on the left handlebar. That's my new BEELINE Moto. It's a sat-nav thingy, and this is the first test ride just to try it out. I've got a TomTom sat-nav which I use on Goldie, but I didn't want to start fitting powered holders on Al, and it's pretty big too, and I don't want to spoil that nice naked look. These BEELINE units are tiny and have a built-in rechargeable battery that's supposed to last up to 30 hours, so you don't need to wire it into the bike. I've read a few reviews about them, and while they have the limitations, the size and basic functionality appealed to me, so I thought I'd give one a go. If you've not come across these before, you program your route on your mobile phone, and the little round display gives you basic directions to follow. There's a big arrow that points in the direction you should be going, and you should be able to see it moving at bends and junctions as the video plays. You get an indicator that tells you which direction your next turn is and how far it is to it. If it's a roundabout, it'll also tell you which exit to take. It's purely visual and there's no spoken directions whatsoever, so basically you've got to keep glancing at it. The other good thing is because your phone isn't using its display, it's just using a Bluetooth connection, so you're not running your battery down on your phone, and that'll last a lot longer. Anyway, I've put a destination in and told it to take a fun route. You can choose between fun or fast, so we'll see how good it is. The road to the right at this crossroads is called Gibbet Hill. Now back in 1779, one John Spencer murdered the toll house keeper and his mother as he was robbing the house. It was interrupted by some travellers as he was dragging one of the bodies across the road to the nearby River Ryton. A search party caught him shortly after, and he was tried, convicted and executed at Nottingham Assizes. Afterwards, his body was hung in a gibbet cage on the slope near the river, and it was renamed Gibbet Hill. The first village we come to is Scrooby, and that's the Pilgrim Fathers pub on the right. There was a manor house in the village until the early 19th century when it was demolished, but during the 1600s it was occupied by the Brewster family. In 1620, William Brewster was one of the Pilgrim Fathers who left England for America on the Mayflower to escape the religious persecution, and that's why the pub's called the Pilgrim Fathers. It's a quiet little village now, but this used to be on the Great North Road, so it was on one of the main routes from London up to the north of England. There have been many notable people that's used Scrooby as a stopping place to break their journeys. These include Queen Elizabeth I and Cardinal Wolsey. We're at Ranskill now, and we're turning right at the traffic lights onto the B6045 to Blythe. We're going right again onto the A634. We're heading into Blythe now, and that's the A1 we've just gone under. Blythe's both a village and a parish, and it's been here a long time. In fact, there are no fewer than 53 listed buildings in the parish. The half-timbered building on the left there was the old Rose and Crown, and that dates from the 17th century. It's a private house now. The large white building over to the right there is the Four Ways Hotel, which is early 18th century. The row of cottages there on the left date from the 18th century. There's so many in the village. We're taking the B6045 now, heading towards Worksop. Now at this point I have no idea where we are, and I'm just relying on the BEELINE. Hopefully it knows just where we're going. That's the River Ryton that we've just crossed on that little bridge. This area is known as the gateway to the Dukeries because of the 3 stately homes in the area belonging to dukes. And this is Worksop we're just coming into now. It's quite a large town now, but it's got a very long history. In Anglo-Saxon times it was part of an area called Bernetseat, which means burnt lands. Its name probably comes from the Anglo-Saxon werk, which is a person's name, and hop, which is a valley. And it's recorded in the Domesday Book as Werchescope. In 1460, during the Wars of the Roses, there was a skirmish here, which is known as the Battle of Worksop. No actual evidence of the battle remains today, but there is a section of a human skull in Worksop Priory. That's got a bodkin arrowhead embedded in it, and that's thought to date from the time of the battle. There was also a castle here at one time, dating from the 12th century, but by the mid-16th century that had almost disappeared. In 1568, Mary Queen of Scots was imprisoned at Worksop Manor, which is just outside the town. And there's been a few notable people come out of Worksop, but I'll just mention two because I happen to like the music. One's Bruce Dickinson, singer for Iron Maiden, and the other is John Parr of St Elmo's Fire fame. As we turn left here, we go up over a bridge that takes us over the Chesterfield Canal. We then pass under the A57, which is the main road from Lincoln up to Sheffield. Okay, so we've now crossed the border into Rhodesia. Well, obviously not the one in South Africa, but it does have a couple of things in common, in that both were named after prominent men of the time and both were involved in mining. The South African state was named after Cecil Rhodes, who was a mining magnate and politician, though his type of mining was for diamonds. This Rhodesia was named after G. Preston Rhodes, who was chairman of Shire Oak Colliery, and the mining this time was for coal. The village was built in 1920, and it was specifically for housing the miners who worked at the nearby Shire Oaks and Steatley pits. The surface works at Steatley closed in 1983, and all the coal from it was then brought out up through Shire Oaks pit. Shire Oaks pit closed in 1990, and it's since been turned into a community woodland, like many others in the country. The Steatley site, that's under development for industrial use now. We're turning right now onto the A619 from Worksop to Chesterfield. We're only on here a short way before we branch off to Whitwell. We're coming into the village of Whitwell now, and we're actually in Derbyshire. This is a very old village, and there's remains of Iron Age and Roman settlements in the area. That's the war memorial in front. It was erected in 1924 and it's got the names of those from the village who lost their lives in the two world wars. Just across the road there's the old village pump. That dates from the 19th century. If any of you is into snooker and billiards, the great Joe Davis was from Whitwell. As we come up the steep hill out the village, we're branching off to the left towards Cresswell. Over the centuries, several quarries have been operated in the Steatley and Whitwell area. Stone and dolomite were quarried, and lime and dolomer were produced at some. This is a huge one that's still in operation that we're passing now. Right, this is today's journey's end, and this is Cresswell Crags. The crags are in a limestone gorge, right on the Nottinghamshire-Derbyshire border. There's caves in the ravine that show occupation at numerous times in the past, right back to Neanderthal times, 50 to 60,000 years ago. It's got a great visitors centre, and today that's as far as I'm going. It'll probably take a couple of hours to explore once you've passed through the visitors centre, so I'm going to come back at a future date for a proper visit. Today we'll just have a coffee. Before we go, there's a memorial at the bottom end of the car park that we'll just take a look at. It's to the Canadian air crew of a Wellington bomber that crashed near Whitwell on the 4th of August 1944. It was from nearby Gameston airfield and was out on a training flight when it crashed, unfortunately killing all the crew. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up there and head on back home. But what about the BEELINE Moto then? Well, it's been working away silently and unobtrusively, guiding me through places I've never been before. It picked out a lovely route, I didn't take any wrong turns, and we ended up exactly where I wanted to be. Once you get used to the very basic directions, it becomes quite intuitive. As I said at the beginning, it's the first time I've used it, but I'm well impressed with it. This isn't intended as a review of it, and I've got no connection with the manufacturer. I just thought I'd share my thoughts on a gadget I've bought. Some might find it interesting and useful. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed today's trip on a different bike. Please leave me a like if in fact you have, drop a comment, and if you want to watch any more of my ramblings, please subscribe to the channel. Hope you can join me again. Now it's cheers for now.